If you've ever had a season where everything you prayed for, everything you worked for, just fell apart, and asked God, why would you allow this? In this video, we walk through 5 life-changing lessons hidden inside the book of Job that will completely change how you see suffering and give you something real to hold on to when everything around you is falling apart. Stay with me. Open your Bible to the book of Job. In chapter 1, Job is introduced to us as a wealthy man devoted to God. But then God allows Satan to test his faith, and he loses everything. Here's what we learn. Lesson 1. Your faithfulness is your greatest weapon. Here's something that stopped me cold when I read this book. In Job 1 verse 8, God is the one who brings Job up in conversation with Satan. He calls Job his servant, who is blameless and upright. Satan then challenges God. He says, Job only loves you because you protect him. Take away the blessings and he'll curse you to your face. God allows Satan to take away everything Job had. And Job does something remarkable when he loses everything. He falls on his knees and worships. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Your praise in your season of loss is not weakness. It is an opportunity to get closer to God. It is the most powerful thing you can offer God right now. Lesson 2. The battle was never yours to fight. Notice something in the conversation God had with Satan. God sets limits. In Job 1 verse 12, God tells Satan, you can touch his possessions, but not him. In Job 2 verse 6, God instructs Satan, you can touch his body, but you cannot take his life. Even Satan has to obey God's order. The battle Job was living through was not between Job and his circumstances. It was not between Job and God. It was between God and evil. If we use a sports analogy, Job was the playing field, where the battle between God and Satan was taking place. He was not the opponent. When you are in a season of loss, ask yourself, what if this isn't about me losing? What if it's about God proving something through me? The battle is not yours. It's the Lord's. Lesson 3. God's silence is not God's absence. For 37 chapters, God says nothing. Job cries out. His friends offered words of comfort. They tried to explain the pain, and the whole time, God was quiet. Then in Job 38, God speaks. And here's what I find remarkable. He doesn't say, here's why it happened. He says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? He doesn't explain himself to Job. He reveals himself. Think about it like a parent putting a child to bed early. The child doesn't understand, but the parent sees the full day ahead. You don't always get the reason. Sometimes you just get the reminder of who is in control. God is in control, even in the situation you are in. Lesson 4. Be careful how you speak about God. Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, they weren't cruel. They were just trying to help, but their understanding of God was wrong. They believed, if you suffer, you must have sinned. God's blessing means you're righteous. God's silence means you're guilty. In Job 42 verse 7, God tells them directly, you have not spoken what is right about me. You see, sometimes people say things about your pain when they don't have the full picture. They pass judgment on how you deal with your pain. They theorize on how you got to be where you are. God warns us. When we reduce God to a formula, obey and you'll be blessed, suffer and you must have failed, we misrepresent him. God is too big for our neat categories. Our theology must be able to hold mystery. Lesson 5. Restoration is greater than what was lost. Job 42 verse 10 to 16. After Job prays for his friends, the very people who accused him, God restores him. Not partially, twice. double the livestock, double the wealth, new children, long life. God did not just fix what was broken, He exceeded it. The suffering was not the story, it was the setup. Whatever you have lost, your health, your peace, a relationship, your sense of direction, Job's story is a testimony that God's restoration can surpass what was taken. The test has a finish line. And on the other side, God is waiting with more than you started with. So here's the question I want to leave you with. What season are you in right now? Because if you are in the middle of something that doesn't make sense, something that feels like loss, like silence, like abandonment, maybe it's not the end of your story. Maybe it's the setup. The book of Job was never really about Job. It was about the God who never abandoned him. And that same God has not abandoned you. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 lessons hit you the hardest? And if this helped you, share it with someone who needs it today.